Some unfortunate news out of St. Mary's College in Indiana, the launch of a new policy that will allow transgender women, that is, men presenting as women, to enroll at and attend the historically all-girls school. St. Mary's is the sister school of Notre Dame University, located just across the street. The decision was made by the school's governing board. The new policy outlines that they will accept anyone whose sex is female or who consistently live and identify as women. There have been spirited calls for the school to reverse the policy. Of note is a letter from Bishop Kevin Rhodes of the Diocese of Fort Wayne South Bend. His statement decried the decision, and His Excellency noted that as the presiding bishop over the diocese, he should have been consulted on this matter of important Catholic teaching. I'm now joined by two prominent Notre Dame women from the Ethics and Public Policy Center, Mary Hasson, the director of the Person and Identity Project, and Mary FioRito, the Cardinal Francis George Fellow at Notre Dame's De Nicola Center for Ethics and Culture. Ladies, thank you for joining me. Mary Hasson, let's kick it off with you. Notre Dame is your alma mater. I'm sure you spent plenty of time with the girls from St. Mary's, with it being so close by. Did you ever think such a policy would be instituted there?
Absolutely not. And I think it's really ironic because St. Mary's prides itself as being a place to empower women. And yet this is a gross betrayal of women, the students who are there, the alums, the faculty, but more importantly, perhaps a betrayal of its Catholic mission and its mission to educate women.
Absolutely. And Mary FioRito, you have college-age children, and I understand your daughter had considered attending St. Mary's, but what are you thinking now as her mother?
Yeah, so my daughter, in fact, has an outstanding application into St. Mary's. It is one of the schools she has applied to for the fall. And I have to say, just as a parent, both my husband and myself now have some really grave concerns. One of the reasons we looked at St. Mary's is because we believe that single-sex education, particularly for women, has a very valuable role and winds up shaping and empowering empowering women, as Mary Hasson pointed out, is actually in the St. Mary's charter. Their mission statement is to empower women. But now, I'm concerned about my daughter possibly sharing private spaces like a bathroom or a locker room with someone who is a biological male.
Right.
Any parent who is trying to create a safe space for particularly a young girl wants to make sure that wherever she will be, disrobing or showering or in any other kind of position where she is vulnerable, that there will only be women present in those spaces.
Yeah. Right. And Mary H., you're an expert on the impact of transgender ideology on our culture. How do you predict this will impact the rate of abuse on campus? I mean, biological girls can't be too excited about potentially sharing these dorm rooms and locker rooms with biological males.
Yeah, so it creates a safety risk, that's for sure, because one of the problems with policies like this is the schools will not tell the other girls or the other students or their parents which students might be male presenting as female. So one of the questions, if I were a parent who was looking at this school, is I would want to hear from the university, are you going to be enrolling or rooming girls with a male student without their knowledge? Are you going to be allowing these males who might identify as women to shower in the same bathrooms, to use the locker rooms? Because all of those things are gross violations of women's privacy, but really disempowering women, because it says to the women, your privacy doesn't matter. Your safety doesn't matter. Your feelings don't matter. What matters most to the university, apparently, is this sense of distorted sense of inclusivity, which is really just a walking away from their Catholic identity, which should start with the truth about the person. We're created male and female.
Right. And it's so alarming that they would keep such important information from the parents of these girls. Mary F., what's your reaction, shifting gears a bit, to Bishop Rhodes' public statement on this? I'll read just a short quote from his letter. No doubt St. Mary's College desires to promote love, inclusion, and acceptance within the community, but it does not do so authentically when it separates love from truth. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I have to say that I certainly join Bishop Rhodes in expressing disappointment that as the ordinary of the area in which St. Mary's College is located, meaning he's the bishop that has the episcopal responsibility for the Catholics in that area, he wasn't even consulted about this. And when we act as a Catholic institution, we have to keep in mind that decisions certainly of this magnitude, they don't just affect the institution and the students who attend it. It affects everyone in the diocese. And so the very fact that he wasn't even consulted, I just find incredibly troubling. But what I really liked about his statement is that he distinguished between being welcoming and being kind to those who might have gender dysphoria, and then contrasting that to a Catholic institution, as he said, embracing a definition of a woman that is not consistent with Catholic teaching. So it has actually embraced a definition that is contrary to Catholic teaching. And, at a certain point, institutions have to be careful about the way they are presenting themselves and their policies and procedures, because at a certain point, you have to be able to look at an institution and say, okay, from their charter, from their policies, from the people who are living and working and teaching within this institution, I can tell that this is a Catholic institution. And that if a parent is looking for a Catholic school for one of their daughters, they can be assured that there's truth in advertising, that this is truly a Catholic a place of higher learning. And I think when we get into these things, decisions that are made privately that impact the Catholic identity specifically, and the ordinary isn't even given the courtesy of a heads up that this policy is going to change. And he apparently found out about it reading in the newspaper, which just is an inappropriate relationship to have with the bishop of the local diocese. I think that does not speak to transparency, and it doesn't speak to clarity either to the again, any Catholic parent looking at this particular school for one of their children, but even more broadly to other Catholic institutions. At what point do they decide for themselves what Catholic means?
Yeah, that's pretty appalling. And Mary Hasson, I'm curious, I know that you're tracking what's going on this gender ideology front in schools across the nation. Do you think that this is a trend that we're starting to see, that all girls schools, which maybe there aren't a lot of them across the nation anymore, but they do exist, is this a concerning trend to you? Do you think we're going to be seeing this more?
Oh, we absolutely are already seeing it. So a number of the associations, educational associations of girls' schools, private schools, things like that, have already made those decisions to allow anyone who identifies as a woman to come in. And we have seen other Catholic universities or schools make these similar decisions. And so one thing I would say about St. Mary's, too, is that I think this is really the latest step in what has been a steady drift away from an authentic grounding in Christian anthropology, because we can see that with some of the clubs that they have already, some of the activities that they've allowed to go on in terms of promoting LGBT. So I'm not entirely surprised that they didn't consult the bishop or that they have gone in this direction, but I don't think it's going to serve them well.
Yeah, that's helpful.
I think parents are not going to want it.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And I'm so grateful that you both could join us today, Mary Hasson and Mary FioRito. Thank you for speaking up about this injustice and for joining us today. God bless you.